To the August 17th, 2023 City Council meeting. I am City Council President Jim Nash, and I will be presiding this evening. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this meeting and all participating on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. I want to extend a special thanks to Northampton Open Media for their efforts to make this virtual meeting possible. And I now call the City Council to order. Laura, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Councillor Elkins.
Here.
Councillor Foster.
Here.
Councillor Gore. Here. Councillor Jarrett.
Here.
Councillor Labarge.
Here.
Councillor Maori.
Here.
Councillor Moulton.
Here.
Councillor Nash.
Here.
And Councillor Perry.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Excellent. And everybody's here. All right. Next up, it looks like we have some people here for public comment. We just have a few public hearing announcements. First, an announcement of a public hearing on item 23.348 National Grid Verizon poll petition for Loudville Road. Per Mass General Law, Chapter 166, Section 22, the Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. In council chambers to hear National Grid's petition to install one jointly owned pole on Loudville Road. I'm going to go to the next one here, which is another announcement. Per Mass General Law and everything. This is for item 23.360 National Grid Verizon poll petition for Bradford Street. The Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 7th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. in council chambers. And then the last one is for item 23.335 Comcast petition for installation of underground conduit at 54 Main Street in Florence. The Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 7th, 2023 at 7:10 p.m. in council chambers. That will be a hybrid meeting, so people can join both remotely and in person at council chambers. Instructions for accessing all of these hearings remotely may be found on September 7th, 2023 City Council agenda to be posted on www.northamptonma.gov no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting. The City Council will hear all persons who wish to be heard thereon. And so that's the public hearing announcements. Next, we come to public comment. And if folks are interested, well, I have the directions here in my little opening. Now that we are convened, we will now hear public comment. If you wish to make a public comment, please use the raise hand feature located on the bottom menu bar under reactions. If you are calling in by phone and you wish to make a public comment, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. If you're having trouble raising your hand, you may use the chat feature to send a message to Councillor Foster, who is helping to manage the meeting. To ensure equal access and because of open meeting law, technical problems such as not being able to raise your hand are the only thing that the chat function is used for, and the chat function will only be available during public comment. I will recognize those who wish to speak. Before you begin, please state your name and your city or town for the public record. To ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to speak, the council limits comments to 2 minutes. You are in no way obligated to use the full 2 minutes, but if you do, after 2 minutes, I will ask you to please finish your sentence. If you set your Zoom screen for gallery mode, you will also see the blue sky timer indicating how much time each speaker has. According to the council rules, we do not respond during public comment as it is your time to speak. So while your comment should be directed to us, you will understand when we don't respond. Our rules also state that counselors and members of the public shall conduct themselves with civility and respect at all times. Your protected speech is a constitutional right and one that we ask you to wield with consideration and respect for all, and do so with the recognition that the public space that grants you that freedom is shared equally by everyone. Also, according to open meeting law, if someone is disrupting a meeting, they may be removed. You may speak on any topic. It doesn't need to be an item on the agenda. I ask that all but the council turn off your video until called upon. Only the person recognized has the floor, and all comments are to be directed to the council. And I see people queuing up. And first up is Jackie. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, Council President Nash. My name is Jacqueline McCrainer. I live in Northampton. I would like to go on record as requesting the City of Northampton to uphold its promise to community stakeholders by conducting trial runs with simultaneous traffic and safety studies regarding the Main Street redesign in downtown Northampton. Please do not go back on this promise. I also strongly urge the city to host several additional public hearings after the trial runs and studies have been conducted. There is plenty of misinformation being circulated about the project by city staff and officials, residents, and the media. Accurate trial runs, objective traffic and safety studies, and fair and just public hearings are absolutely necessary to vet a redesign of this magnitude. Former Mayor Narkowitz conducted a trial run of this redesign back in August 2020, which resulted in its early termination due to the many issues that arose. The current redesign still has many of the same problematic design elements that the August 2020 failed experiment revealed. There should be an opportunity to re-identify these problems and correct them so that they do not become permanent fixtures downtown. If the former mayor could conduct a trial run, then the current mayor should be able to conduct a trial run. City staff and officials are well aware of the mounting opposition, along with the many rational concerns that stakeholders have about the proposed redesign, including economic, logistical, sustainability, and historic preservation related issues. What happens to Main Street directly affects Northampton residents, downtown business and building owners, passers through, as well as visitors and tourists. Main Street is the backbone of our community. It has been a cultural, culinary, and commercial gem in our region for decades, and it still can be. I strongly urge this council to do the right thing before installing a permanent, large-scale, problematic redesign on Main Street, commit to conducting proper trial runs and objective traffic studies, and holding fair and just public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, next up is Dennis Moore.
Hello, and thank you, council members. My name is Dennis, and I live in Northampton. I've come to urge the City Council to act and respond to the Northampton Police Department's April 4th traffic stop of Marisol Drioche, the police footage having been made public recently, in which she, a non-native English speaker, was pulled out of her vehicle, pinned to the ground, and pepper sprayed. Her only fault being that one of her headlights was out and she did not comply with the officer's orders fast enough because, again, she was not a native English speaker. The incident could have been prevented had it not been for the officer's escalation and had there been appropriate policies in place. In fact, such policies were suggested in 2021 by the Northampton Policing Review Commission. Namely, the commission suggested that first, stops after dark for equipment violations or minor traffic infractions should be stopped or greatly reduced. Second, minor traffic laws should be enforced by electronic detection where possible. Namely, the officers in the April 4th incident had Marisol's license plate and did not need to engage. And third, the establishing or expanding the use of civilian community safety members like those enforcing parking violations to enforce minor traffic laws. The officers responsible for the escalation of the April 4th stop was not formally disciplined or reprimanded, and although he had to take a remedial class in de-escalation, I do not have confidence that such incidents won't happen again. I urge the City Council to take seriously the Commission's recommendations I mentioned, as well as the countless other recommendations in the report, and to act to ensure that such a traumatic event does not occur again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Next up is James Winston. Welcome, James.
Hi, good evening. My name is James Winston. I'm a lifelong resident of Northampton, and I too would ask about the trial run for the proposed Main Street redesign. I think we can all agree that safety is the paramount concern that we all have, and for good reason. However, in August of 2020, what we saw was some safety concerns when Main Street was temporarily narrowed to one lane in each direction. First of all, first responders that race up and down Main Street had a very difficult time getting by because cars had difficulty getting over to the right because there was only one lane in each direction. And that was mentioned to former Mayor Narkowitz in one of those public hearings, and he suggested that maybe first responders could go down a different route if they couldn't get by on Main Street, which obviously is not ideal. Another problem with the safety issue during August of 2020 with the parallel parking was you had drivers on the driver's side opening their car doors to oncoming traffic, which was not safe for pedestrians, bikers, or somebody exiting their car. We also saw a number of people during the height of the pandemic trying to avoid downtown Northampton. So they were coming down side streets. They were trying to avoid Main Street, which that's why the traffic study is so important. Mark Warner, a traffic consultant, who's been doing this for 30 years, said a traffic study, which was promised, is not only necessary, but should be mandatory. He also said there's definitely ways to do trial runs or simulations. And the city could do very basic safety measures. They could have signage in the crosswalks. There's no signage that says pedestrians right away. They could have blinking lights there. They could do speed bumps on the crosswalks like we have on Pleasant Street to slow down traffic. They could paint the lane lines so people know where to go on Main Street. And they could definitely do curb extenders to shorten the long crosswalk. And obviously everyone realizes the importance of climate control, but in August of 2020, the cars were idling in place, which was unfortunately just the opposite of what was climate control. I ask you to support trial run simulation to see if there's a better way to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, James. All right, next up is Benjamin. Ben? Here, let's get you unmuted. Oh. Aaron, can you get him to unmute?
Benjamin, hopefully you have a pop-up that says the host is asking you to unmute. I'll send you a chat.
Okay, and I thank you, Karen, and I am going to move on to, I think it's Fred Zimnock. Oh, no, not again.
Oh,
This is weird.
That is weird.
All right, let's try Jackie. Laura, are you able to unmute these folks? Oh, Jackie, all right. We have Jackie, and we will come back to Benjamin and Fred. Jackie, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jackie Balance from Florence, and I was listening to what folks were saying about the Main Street redesign, and I'm thinking, as I understand it, it's a 3-year project. Downtown will be torn up, disrupted, out of order for 3 years, and I'm afraid that could be the death knell for a lot of downtown businesses. And in terms of safety and traffic, first responders getting through, there's got to be a plan for detouring, a 3-year detour eastbound and westbound around Main Street. And I think a trial run and some detour plans in place would really help us to move forward. Just using the scientific method, you get your ideas, you get a hypothesis, and then you try it. The trial run in 2020 was a flop. Based on that, we wouldn't have a Main Street redesign. I want to encourage a trial run to make an intelligent decision, and those detour plans, I'd be interested to see them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, let's try, oh, Fred, I think you're unmuted.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Welcome. Yes, Fred, your name and town.
My name is Fred Zimnock. I live on Pomeroy Terrace here in Northampton. The redesign of Main Street as proposed by MassDOT has raised too many technical questions that have not received any substantial and verifiable answers. They include an accurate statistical description of the engineering design basis for the project, any data to support the fact that reduced parking will not harm business, no information to support the new 2-lane traffic plan, no data to support the fact that the new design will increase safety on Main Street, no information on how to remove snow, and no information to support the claim that a 3-year construction plan will not impact Main Street business. Convincing answers to these concerns have not yet appeared and must come from experts who understand and respect the concerns of the taxpayer. The project should not continue without positive answer to these questions and more that I've not mentioned. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
You too. Thank you, Fred. All right, let's try Benjamin again.
Hello.
Oh, good. Benjamin, you have the floor.
Oh, great. Thank you. So my name is Benjamin Spencer. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear
very
you.
good.
Benjamin.
I'm on my phone. It's very awkward. My name is Benjamin Spencer. I live on Rust Avenue in Northampton. I'm here to express my support for the Main Street redesign. This project is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to improve the quality of life for everyone who visits, works, and resides in Northampton. It will enhance safety for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians while supporting businesses, keeping traffic moving, and contributing to a healthier community. This will be a downtown we can all be proud of. Main Street has been around for over 350 years. During that time, it's gone through many changes. Railroad tracks ran across Main Street at grade. They were raised to eliminate the dangerous crossing. Mill River flowed through downtown, so it was rerouted to prevent devastating floods. These projects were no doubt disruptive at the time. Downtown has benefited from the foresight of our predecessors who recognized these problems and mobilized to fix them. The biggest change to Main Street happened gradually over time, has a lasting impact. The impressive wide public way with sweeping turn in front of the City Hall was on many picture postcards in the 1800s. On those postcards, you can see horse and buggy, thriving businesses, bustling sidewalks. It's changed with the arrival of the automobile. Over time, the entirety of our public street has been given over to cars from curb to curb. Just because this was allowed to happen doesn't mean it's how it needs to be. I'm disheartened by the pushback this project is getting. I hope to see MassDOT, tool design, and city officials respond to these criticisms. It's clear that despite the many meetings and all the available information, there are still questions and concerns about this project. They need to be addressed. The sooner the better. If you are one of the hundreds of people who attended meetings, provided feedback, and contributed to the process that got us here, please speak up now. Downtown belongs to everyone. It's time to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Next up is Claudia. Welcome, Claudia.
Hi there, thanks. I'm going to take Ben's advice and speak up. I was one of many people who attended a lot of these meetings, but I'm here to comment on a couple things. One thing is I find this very unsettling that people who actually care about the climate, who want to see less cars downtown, who want to encourage walking and biking are being split over this project. And I fault the city for this because I feel like there hasn't been an actual response to genuine concerns that people are raising. And I'll just say in a Gazette article, when the mayor says downtown businesses will be fine, this is not a response. This doesn't make me feel any better. Based on what are downtown businesses going to be fine? When the concern around biking is raised, the mayor says she doesn't want her children riding a bike downtown. This is not a legitimate answer to a legitimate concern. I ride my bike downtown. I live across the street from Jim Nash out in the Pleasant Street area. I've been riding my bike since we moved here in 1976. It's discouraging, and I would like somehow the city council to get together with the planning department and the mayor and come up with a way to negotiate this rather than fight it out in these 2-minute sound bites or letters to the editor. It's not going to result in a good plan. It's very disappointing. I just find myself torn about this. I think this is a project that we should all be able to work together to accomplish, not be fighting each other about. So I don't know who will take this up. I mean, I feel like it behooves some of you, to contact Carolyn Mish, to contact the mayor and see if you can arrange a meeting that would satisfy this call for negotiation, which we feel hasn't happened so far. So thanks.
Thank you, Claudia. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? All right, seeing no hands raised, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is announcements from councilors and the mayor. And the mayor has an announcement she'd like to share with all of us. She has a message. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. Good evening, councilors. It was important for me to take this opportunity so you can hear directly from me about what I have said about the police traffic stop on April 4th. As mayor, as a resident of this city, as a person, I expect the police to conduct themselves and their work for the city with respect and professionalism. Despite the internal and the outside independent investigation's lack of finding, the escalation and the extent of the interaction with the driver during the stop should not have happened, and I strongly disagree with how it was handled on the scene. It does not meet my nor the community's expectations. I do appreciate how Chief Casper and the leadership immediately reported, reviewed, and investigated the incident and took the remedial action that was available to them. I am also grateful, and I thank you, the council, for voting so that there was the cruiser video that recorded the stop and allowed for documentation and review of the interaction and for the extent of the interaction to be seen. As we discussed during the dash cam deliberation, it's an important tool for transparency about police interactions and to be able to have a verifiable visual record of an interaction. It's important that this record exists and can be seen. This should not have happened, and we are using it to discuss how we can prevent it from happening in the future. So again, I thought it was important to speak directly to all of you and share that with you. And there's not more that I can say, nor can we have a discussion about this, because as has been widely reported, there is threatened litigation on the matter. But I still wanted to share my sentiments that I've been sharing to people who have contacted the mayor's office or reporters directly with you, and just be able to, although remotely, be able to look at all of you and tell you that face to face. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other announcements? Councilor Perry.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of things to bring forward. The first is that next Monday, August 21st, the Community Resources Committee is going to have a discussion on the state of Northampton's farms presentation from the Agricultural Commission. So all of the counselors are also invited to come. It's been a really tough couple months in terms of weather. So I'm looking forward to hearing just an update. I know that a number of counselors have already checked out some of the farms after some heavy rains. Moving on from that, I do want to tell all of our constituents out there that we are winding down in the summer, and we have had a great season of outdoor events, but unfortunately those are going to come to the end mostly at the end of this month. And so get out there and go to Masonic Street Live. They've got stuff happening on Fridays and Sundays. Go to Bands on Brewster every Thursday. Summer on Strong is happening Wednesdays through Saturday. And then Salsa in the Park. There's a couple more left. So please go check those out. And speaking of things to go and see and do, the Taste of Northampton is coming back to Northampton on September 9th. It's going to be from noon to 8 p.m. We are closing down Main Street again. And I personally had a great time just trying to get as much food as possible and snagging a couple local beverages. But I'm really excited that we had it last year, and I'm super excited that we're doing it again. So mark it on your calendars. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Foster.
Yes, I just wanted to announce that the City Council Committee on City Services has sort of combined our August and September meetings. That will be Tuesday, August 29th, and we'll be taking up the appointment of Andrew Pellis to fire chief. And interestingly, one of the very first appointments I handled was Chief Davin several years ago, who did a really spectacular job, and wish him all the best. And on Tuesday, the 29th at 4 p.m., the Committee on City Services will be taking up the mayor's appointment.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other announcements? Counselor Labarge.
Can you see my hand up there, Jim?
I see your hand. I don't just see your finger.
No, you're not going to see that. Anyways, I just want to thank Pamela Powers, our city clerk, Amy, her assistant city clerk, Jennifer, principal clerk, and Christine, principal clerk, for all the hard work that they have done in that office through the pandemic, and also the list of responsibilities they have in that large office. They work tirelessly in that office. And I know all you counselors know exactly what their job is retailing with. A huge amount of responsibility. So I want to thank the 4 of those girls for operating that department so efficient with respect and dignity. So I want to thank all 4 of those employees.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other announcements? I have a few. I just want to say that I want to thank the mayor for that statement, and that I think all of us share the similar thoughts and feelings around, how it was very much a gut punch to the city to have that kind of response, that kind of interaction occur on King Street after all of the work and discussion that we've gone through over the last 3 years. And that we definitely have more work to do, and we have things to figure out here. But I think we stand together in knowing, even though the findings didn't result in disciplinary action, that we as a community and I think I speak for the NPD here, that this is not what we expect. And so I just wanted to say that. As far as announcements, I want to send out a big thank you to the Friends of Northampton Trails. If anybody's been driving up and down King Street the last 2 weeks, you will notice that everything is kind of cleaned up and the new growth is looking nice, and that Friends of Northampton Trails had gotten out there and volunteers had spruced everything up. Our DPW was looking for ways to, because as you know, we're shorthanded, and FNT stepped up and it looks great. And I just want to thank them. I also want to say, anybody, if you're driving by Bridge Street School, and especially if you're walking by Bridge Street School, get out and notice we're nearing the completion of the Safe Routes to School project, which was advocated on by the Bridge Street School community, the Ward 3 Association, and, you know, working with Wayne Fiden and the previous mayor, and also the current mayor was part of that advocacy as a Bridge Street School parent. And there's improved crosswalks, narrowed streets, intersections, and new sidewalks. So I recommend you go and check that out. And the last thing I want to say, and I have to double check the number, but I believe we're starting the 6th year of the Bridge Street School Walking School Bus Program, which kind of opened the door for all of that funding, is that the Bridge Street School community pulling together to help walk children to school, encourage people, you know, walking to school, and, you know, and having that, rather than having all of the cars piling up on Bridge Street. And it's been a real wonderful thing. So those are my, and with that 6th year, anybody who wants to volunteer, let me know and I will connect you up with the walking school bus program. You have to be vetted through VINs, and then we can get you out there and you can help walk kids to school. That's it for my announcement. Any others? Okay. Everybody sure? Okay, I'm moving on to the consent agenda. All right. Oh, presentations. Mayor, you don't have any presentations, right? No. Okay. Next up, consent agenda. We have a lot of minutes. Laura Kretzler has been busy this summer catching up. And so we have the minutes of the June 1st, 2023, the June 15th, 2023, and the June 30th, 2023. Oh boy. And the July 13th, 2023 regular meetings, regular city council meetings, and the minutes of the June 15th, 2023 special city council meeting. That's the first item. Next item, 23.353, in order to appropriate stabilization funds for AOM fire suppression systems upgrade. This was sent here from our last meeting. We have item 23.362, Northampton Bowl applications for weekday and Sunday bowling licenses at 525 Pleasant Street. This is up for renewal. We have for referral to city services, Donnell Turner of the Human Rights Commission. This is a new appointment. And then we have Marilyn Richards for the Northampton Housing Authority, and that is for reappointment. And the last, which is something that Councilor Foster mentioned earlier, item 23.368, appointment of Assistant Fire Rescue Chief Andrew Pelis as Chief of Northampton Fire Rescue for referral to city services. And that is it for the consent agenda. Any requests for removal? Okay, hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Second.
Even though you've been sick, you're still good. All right, motion made by Counselor Jarrett. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm gonna go to the person with the finger. Counselor Labarge makes the second. Oops, what did I do?
I have fingers. What are you talking about?
Jeez.
I just lost-
No, she can have it.
Don't worry, I'll get you next. All right. There's no discussion on the consent agenda, although we're talking a lot. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
and Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Okay, the consent agenda has passed unanimously. Next up is fourth quarter financial reports, and that Director Nardi has prepared these and sent them over to us. And actually, I made an error in not checking in with the Chair of Finance whether she wanted to discuss these at this meeting or possibly go over them during the finance meeting. And it's the preference of Finance Chair Maori that a deeper discussion occur during finance at the September 6th meeting. But there is a request that Finance Director Nardi give us a brief overview, and we can ask a few quick questions, but we're going to have a more in-depth discussion on at finance on the 6th. Did I frame that right, Councilor Maori?
Yeah, so just to be clear, there's a September 6th meeting via Zoom at 6 p.m. for Finance Committee for anyone interested in a deeper dive.
Okay, and with that setup, Director Nardi, would you like to give us the quick overview?
Yes, good evening, counselors, and thank you for having me. I presented you with 5 documents. They are the enterprise fund expenses, the enterprise fund revenues, and the general fund expenses and general fund revenues. And then the report that I worked on with Council President Nash that shows the cannabis meals, hotel, motel, short-term rentals over the last several years. There is also that PDF. So in order to give you a short presentation, I just wanted to say that we did end the year for revenues, the general fund revenues, on track. We actually, in each category, we met our goals. As we've discussed in FY 2023, we have seen a rebound in almost all of the revenues that were impacted by COVID, specifically the motor vehicle excise, the hotel motel revenue, the traditional hotel motel revenue, and the meals tax. We are still, if you look at the PDF, and like I said, we will go into, or as Councilor Maori said and Council President Nash said, we will go into this more detail, but the cannabis revenue did not meet our revenue projections, and we've talked about this each and every quarter. We are actually down 27% since over last year. I don't know if this is the bottom, if we've hit the bottom for our market share or not. My guess is no. I have dropped that revenue projection for next year, and my hope is that I will actually make it for this year that we're living in right now, but we will keep an eye on that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the Finance Committee. We received all of our pilots. And again, so overall, the taxes and excise revenues as a group came in on target at 100%. As we looked at all the other ones, ambulance services continues to be a revenue source for the city. That has continued to grow. Our charges for services and licenses permits came in good. And when we look at that, we can look at building inspection permits, which has increased. So that has rebounded since COVID. So those look good as well.
And then when we look at the general fund expenses, again, when you look at that, the final column, again, you want to look at that percent column on the right-hand side. That will actually, you want to make sure it's 100% or less in that case. Revenues, we're looking at 100% or more. In expenses, 100% or less. For those that had money left over, sometimes you'll see to the column exactly immediately to the left of that, you'll see an encumbrance column. Excuse me, that's the available column. And then encumbrances, some departments hold over money because like DPW has ongoing projects. So they continue to use money from FY23 because the project is started and it's still moving through the process. So we've encumbered those funds. So those look good as well. There was no deficits. And then looking at the enterprise funds, when we look at those for revenues, 3 of the 4 enterprise funds met or exceeded their expectations for revenue. Stormwater is slightly below. That is not uncommon. We've had prior years where it has done that. I know the DPW director and her staff have been looking at those bills to reallocate some of them, so that might have an impact, but we're also kind of doing a deeper dive on that to see if that's a long-term impact or if this is short-term. So I hope to have a little more to say on that on September 6th. And the enterprise expenses look really good. Again, they were spent as expected. So then, like I said, the really ones I think, you know, we want to look for and 2 next year are our meals, hotel, motel. Those look really good. Parking as well. We talked about that before COVID. We used to bring in $1.8 million. Now we are up to 1.5. I think that may be our starting point. For now, I don't think we're going to reach back to COVID for parking, and we've talked about the reasons for that. But I think we're in a good place for parking as for that, why we're there and moving forward at the 1.5 level. So that's about all I have to say, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions, folks? Okay. Hearing none, Director Nardi, thank you for the update. Thank you for the reports. I'm sure all of the counselors have looked through them, and that additional questions will be directed to you. In the meantime, or at the Finance Committee meeting on September 6th.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next up. Okay, counselors, I'd like to take things a little bit out of order here to accommodate a staff member who's got a lot of people coming to our house. So I'd like to skip number 9, the review of the request for proposal for 33 King, and go right to financial orders. If that's okay with folks, no objections? Seeing none, okay. Next up, item 23.361, in order to award contract for FY 2024 to FY 2026 audit to Scanlon and Associates. This is in first reading, and here, let me pull it up here. Councilor Maori, do you want to speak to this since we discussed this at Finance?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, Laura did an excellent job gathering comparative data for us. It was amazing. So we spent a lot of time on this. We really unpacked it, and I guess trying to think anyone, yeah, I guess if people had questions or other counselors had questions about our conclusion, our positive recommendation, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, and I think Director Nardi also had some opinions on this too. And
actually, while we have her, she because I felt like her input really was kind of the, you know, the big decider for me. Yes, the influence maker, the decider. So.
Director Nardi,
yeah,
would you
before
like
we
to
lose
share a
you-
few thoughts on the on the contract with Scanlon?
Yeah. And the point,
Yes.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
So what I shared with the finance committee was that the city has been working with Scanlon for many, many years. And currently the city has had some significant retirements of people who have been in the city for a long time. They hold a lot of institutional knowledge, and these are really important positions. And I felt that with the arrival of a new finance director, and a soon-to-be new auditor. Our auditor, Joyce Karpinski, is retiring in January. And other departments that have new department heads. I felt it was really important to have the consistency and the continuity of an auditor who knows what our books look like, would be that much more quick at finding if there are any changes or concerns. Versus when somebody new comes in, they're learning the city. And I really felt over the next 3 years, when we really start to have all these changes, it would be important for an auditor to really be able to make sure things are going along as they have. Because in the past, we have had wonderful audits. We've had a lot of great people, and I think the new people are wonderful as well. But I felt it was really important for continuity to keep them. I also think they provide excellent service. I think it's really important for an auditor and to have a professional working relationship with the city, that we are able to contact them when we have questions. I truly believe the auditor, the outside auditor, and the relationship with the city is to make sure that things are running smoothly, but we work together in a collaborative way, not I gotcha. There's training, they're supportive when we have questions. You know, in order to keep this city financially healthy and make sure we're doing things well, it's important that we have a great line of communication. And I think Scanlon has also provided that at reasonable cost. So that was why I advocated that we remain with Scanlon for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Well, and as Councilor Maori pointed out, our terrific administrative assistant did a bit of research as well. Laura, can you just give a brief overview of the cities and towns that the research you did, reaching out to look at auditing costs for other cities and towns?
Sure, I'll just share the spreadsheet that I put together. I know Director Nardi had given me some ideas of the best comparable communities to look at. So I got quotes and proposals from Amherst, Chicopee, East Hampton, Greenfield, and West Springfield, some of whom are also served by Scanlon, but a couple of which are served by Mellons and Heath and Company, Powers and Sullivan, and just got their scope of services or quote as comparison, just to see that we're definitely in the same ballpark as these other communities. And just Tom Scanlon, during his presentation, pointed out that you can't quite make apple to apple comparisons of some of these numbers because, for example, Northampton has 2 school districts. So where the standard cost for an end of year school report is $5,000, we're paying $10,000 because of having 2. So really, in order to have a direct comparison with some of these other quotes, you would have to add $5,000 to their cost. So, and there's some other things Tom Scanlon brought out, that we have 3 or 4 major programs like CDBG, federal programs that require the single audit, and some of these other quotes. West Springfield, for example, is based on an assumption that there's only 2 federal audits, and if there's more, they charge them more. So I don't know, I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but it was enough to satisfy the finance committee that we're definitely getting a good value for our money.
Right, since we're comparing apples and oranges, that when we look at our apples and oranges, they seem to line up. And it seems that this seems to be a fair proposal.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, so that is this is a financial order in first reading. So we usually figure out what we want to, Counselor Jarrett.
Move to refer to the consent agenda of our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Jarrett, seconded by Counselor Moulton to send this item to the consent agenda at the September 6th meeting. Any further discussion on this? Okay, Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Okay, so which one did we just do here? Here we go. Item 23.361, in order to award contract for FY 2024 through 2026 audit to Scanlon and Associates will be on the consent agenda at our next meeting. The next item I would like to address under financial orders is item 23.366, in order to authorize payment of prior year invoices. This is in first reading, but there is a request for the suspension of the rules and that we approve this tonight. Prior year invoices. Director Nardi, you want to explain the $27,346.36, and there was an unusual misunderstanding that resulted in the oversight here.
So yes, so there were actually four invoices that came in at this time in December of 2021 that the company worked on. And because of the amounts, there was some confusion. Some of these invoices and some of the work was being covered by insurance, and some of it was being covered by the ITS department. And when you took two of the invoices and two of the other ones, you added them together, they both came up to like $27,000. They were in a couple $100s of one another. And then there was some confusion. So when we were first notified that these bills weren't paid, the assumption, they were looked up, $27,000 were paid. It was assumed that these were the ones paid, and someone else looked them up and thought that insurance was taking care of it. So the bottom line is we missed this. We do owe the money. The work was actually done. And I'm sorry, I'm looking for Director Pagan's email that will tell you. So the work was actually done by Comtrack, and they did annual fiber maintenance for the whole network along King Street. That year was particularly active on accidents and pole replacements. The other invoice that I'm asking to be paid for was necessary because road path modifications on the King Street across from the Cumberland Farms gas station. There was an extension of this project and it was performed in 2 phases, and this invoice was the first phase, and those other invoices were the second phase and another project. So again, this was an oversight on the city's part. This work was done, and I'm asking for a waiver of the rules so that I may pay this company the invoices that they are due for the great work that they did for us as soon as possible.
Thank you, Director. Director Labarge.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I got a new job, more money. Yeah, I would like to suspend the rule.
Second.
Right. So on the floor is a motion to suspend the rule so we can approve this tonight. Any discussion on that? Counselor Foster.
I may have missed Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. I missed it, but I just solved it in my own head. Ignore.
Yeah, but so any further discussion on suspending the rule so we can approve this tonight? Okay, hearing no further discussion. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
and Counselor Foster.
Yes.
Okay, this item can now be considered for approval tonight. I'll entertain a motion to approve for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Labarge, and it was seconded by Counselor Moulton.
Yes, I think
Oh.
so.
No,
That's me.
Counselor Perry.
Oh, there you go.
The little green box, it really helps me as it moves around. So,
He
All
sounded
right.
like Stan.
any further discussion on approving this for tonight? All right, hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
and Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Okay, item 23.366, in order to authorize payment of prior year invoices has been approved. And Director Nardi, I think that's all you're here for tonight, correct?
Council President, I think you skipped over one on the agenda.
Well,
23.
I think I'm going to go back to I think the Director Nardi has been here for the items she needs.
Okay, so it was intentional, sorry.
And that we're going to go back to the top of our financial orders, which is
So President, could I make a quick request since we're jumping around?
yeah, since we're jumping around, go right ahead.
So Superintendent Bonner is here, as is I think I saw the Lauren Brown, who's the principal of Jackson Street School. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could possibly do 23,370 right now, and before we go back up to 365.
Sure. Okay. Is everybody okay with that?
Sure.
All right. All right, so let's go. All right, let me get it over here. 23.3 order. Loading. Okay, so item 23.370, an order authorizing the lease of a portion of the Jackson Street Elementary School to Clark School for the Deaf. This is in first reading. There is a request for suspension of the rules and that we approve this tonight. Whereas Jackson Street Elementary School, JSS, is a public elementary school of the Northampton Public Schools in the city of Northampton. And whereas Clark School for the Deaf, AKA Clark School for Hearing and Speech, provides oral education for children who are deaf or hard of hearing in 5 locations, including Northampton. Whereas Clark is in need of classroom and other space in Northampton for the 2023 through 2024 school year to carry out its educational mission, and JSS has surplus space that would serve Clark's needs. And whereas on August 10th, 2023, the Northampton School Committee voted to declare classrooms number 122 and 210, pull-out space number 126, and office 125 to be surplus to the needs of the Northampton Public Schools and to recommend to the Northampton City Council that the premises be leased to Clark on terms and conditions substantially similar to those contained in the proposed lease agreement attached in Exhibit A. And I'm going to stop there and thinking we have people who can explain everything else going on here. Mayor, you want to take the lead here?
Sure, thank you. And I also should mention that there are also representatives here from Clark School as well, if there are any
Oh,
questions.
yes, welcome.
But this is a real thrill for me to be able to introduce you to Dr. Portia Bonner, who is the new superintendent of schools for the Northampton Public Schools, who will be happy to answer any questions and go through this order with you. As you read, this was approved by the school committee last Thursday. And so we're bringing it forward now to the city council for your authorization to surplus for lease these classrooms. So with no further ado, Dr. Portia Bonner, meet the city council.
Hello, good evening to everyone. So I'm excited about this potential partnership with the Clark School, and they have requested to lease 2 classrooms as well as some office space at the Jackson Street School. And I believe that we've had a partnership with the Clark School in the past. They actually rented some space at the Leeds School building. So here's an opportunity for them to utilize some space that we are currently not using, and also a partnership in a program which will allow students from the Clark School to push into some of our mainstream classrooms and provide a diverse experience for the students, as well as some of the enrichment programs or specials in which we offer. So it's really an exciting opportunity for us. The request of the lease is for 10 months. The urgency of why we're asking for you all to consider this evening and suspending with the rules is because we would like for them to be able to be in the space by September 1st for the start of school. And then there's another component. We also have to get approval through DESE. So we are excited about this partnership, and I don't know if there's anything else that I should share if you have any specific questions. The principal, Lauren Brown, who's been working with Clark School's CFO and CEO and director, is also here this evening, as well as some people from Clark School.
Thank you. You know what, Mayor, it'd be great if we could get a little introduction of all of the folks who are joining here. You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted. So I think I believe the council would need to, Principal Brown and Superintendent Bonner are employees of the city, so they don't need to be voted on to be recognized, but you might want to take a vote to recognize the folks that are here from Clark. Which, let me see if so there's Judy Sexton.
I wonder if they could just wave and that would be fine, just so we.
Did I get, so there's Lynn Raymer, Judy Sexton, and hold on, can you remind me? Hold on, can you unmute?
Do I see Marilyn?
There we go.
Marion Hartley.
Marion Hartley.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so we have this proposal on the floor to lease this space. It's been approved by a school committee. The mayor and our new superintendent are both behind this, and it's pretty evident that Clark School is also excited about having this move forward. Councilors, any questions for the mayor? Councilor Moulton.
Yes, first, welcome, Dr. Bonner. Welcome to Northampton. The vote August 10th by the school committee to surplus the classrooms, is that a permanent surplusing, or was that for just this academic year?
That's just for this 10-month lease.
So the potential for renewing the lease would then be based on whether the classroom space would be surplus in the future, and how did this year go, right?
Right, whether there's available space. So there's
Yes.
available space this year, which is why it's even an option. Yeah.
Thanks.
Counselor Labarge did a thumbs up. I don't know if we're supposed to do that. Any other questions?
Yes, I have them.
Oh, Counselor Labarge.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bonner, for being here. I think this is great that this is happening and the Northampton School Committee approved this. I think it's great having Clark School for the Deaf being there. We're up until, when is a 10-month lease, I heard the mayor say. And I think the diversity will be excellent for Jackson Street School, also for Bridge Street School, all our schools. So welcome to our city. And I am asking that we make a motion to suspend the rule.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on suspension of the rules so we can consider this tonight? Hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
and Counselor Jarrett.
Yes.
Okay, we've suspended the rule around this item and it can now be considered for approval this evening.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Gore and I think seconded by Counselor Elkins. Is that right? No,
It was me or your.
it was Counselor Maori. Okay, let's do that.
I mean, I would, but.
Counselor Gore and seconded by Counselor Maori. Any discussion here? Well, Counselor Moulton.
No, I just want to say I echo Council Labarge's thoughts on this. This is an excellent partnership or reestablishment of a partnership that the city has had previously with Clark School in the city schools. It's a win-win-win situation. The space doesn't sit idle, it produces a little revenue, but most importantly, it brings students together and as has been mentioned, will diversify their experience. So this is terrific.
It is.
Counselor Foster.
I probably would have included some more ums and ahs, but Counselor Moulton said what I was raising my hand for before. I think this is a terrific partnership to bring forward, and I applaud the creative thinking, both from Clark and from the schools on this as well. Oh, and I did have a question, which is I didn't catch about how many students are anticipated to be served from Clark's side.
I believe it's 9 currently.
I think
I
so.
believe it's 9. Yes.
Lots of nodding heads.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes, I third or the same sentiment. It feels like a really great harmony for our schools and for keeping Clark integrated in our schools and part of our community. So my question was, I was just really curious about the technology you use. Is it kind of portable, or do you bring it with you, or do you have everything you kind of need in those rooms? How does that work?
So I will defer to one of the members from the Clark School. If you would speak to that, I know that there will be some outfitting in the classrooms or so on, but if you wanted to speak to the unique technology that you're bringing into the classroom.
I just need a motion to recognize.
Yeah, move to recognize.
Right.
People, the representatives from the Clark School.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Foster, seconded by Counselor Maori to recognize the folks from Clark School who we keep talking to and they nod their heads and stuff.
We've done all we can with waving. We've got to move on to voting now.
Laura, roll call on recognition.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
and Counselor Labarge.
Yes.
Okay. The folks from Clark School can now speak with us. So what was the question, Counselor Maori?
I was curious about the technology. I know there can be complex equipment, and I was curious about how for the 10-month stint that they're going to handle that, if it's something they bring in, or mainly because we talk a lot about it with municipal buildings, and I've been part of a lot of conversations, so I'm curious.
Okay, and I see, it looks like Lynn raising her hand. And I'm asking her to unmute. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, so I'll speak in terms of just the general information technology. We have had multiple meetings and ongoing conversations with Antonio from Northampton's IT department. We will be bringing in our own IT effective infrastructure in terms of switches and firewall from a protection standpoint. So we will effectively be on our own network. And then I would let Marion Hartley can comment about the more assistive hearing technology component.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you to the counselors, to Dr. Bonner, to the mayor, and all of the school committee members. So the technology that we bring with our children, they actually wear individual personalized technology to assist their hearing, such as hearing aids and cochlear implants. And then there's a general amplification system that is referred to as HAT, or hearing assistive technology. And the teachers, our teachers will wear a microphone that transmits directly to our students, and any of the participating teachers will wear that microphone, as they did this past year when our students participated in phys ed and recess and lunch. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Mayor.
I can just add to that a lot of that technology is already used in MPS, because we have students who do have hearing impairments who attend. So like Roger systems, things like that are used in all of the schools. So it's familiar technology for NPS.
Nice. Okay, we have an item on the floor. Any other questions? So we have an item on the floor for approval. Any other discussion? I just want to say that I love partnerships like this, and that we're bringing different groups of students together, and the challenges of being a student and growing up together, and having kids interact, and it just teaches them that the world is big and different, and it's a really good learning experience. And also that for Jackson Street, they have a long history of integrative programming like this. Marion Van Ardstel had a terrific program there. I don't know if it's continuing on, but it was a really remarkable program that was going on at Jackson Street. So anyway, Counselor Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge.
Yes.
Okay, and Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Okay, item 23.370, an order authorizing the lease of a portion of the Jackson Street Elementary School to Clark School for the Deaf has been approved.
I just say goodbye. I just want to thank everyone who came. I know this is a big relief for you all. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Bonner. And also, I didn't realize, I think Bobby Jones, who's the business manager for Northampton Public Schools, was also here. So I didn't introduce her because I didn't know. But hi, Bobby. Thanks for being here. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I would like to go back to the top here of the financial orders. and address item, oh, let me see, I got A, right?
Right.
Yes, I put X's through it. Item 23.365, in order to appropriate $20,000 from RRA 2328 to businesses participating in vacant storefront program. Mayor, you're here to speak to that, correct? Let me see if I can.
Sure, I'll do that again. Sure, I'm happy to speak to that, to this. And also, Chief of Staff Wolf is here who can speak to it as well. So I think we've discussed with the council before, stop me if we haven't, but that we went through a process in the last year to be designated as a vacant storefront district by the EACC, which stands for Economic Assistance Coordinating Council. And so with that designation, and our commitment of local matching funds to state funds, businesses or individuals may apply to the EACC for an economic development incentive program tax credit for leasing or and occupying a storefront that's been vacant for more than 12 months within that vacant storefront district. This initiative will make those tax credits refundable to the applicant, and if approved by the EACC, and then so it reduces their tax liability from the Commonwealth, and then it is matched with municipal support at the same level as what the Commonwealth does, up to $10,000. So it can be up to $10,000 from the state and up to $10,000 from the municipality. So this year we applied to the EACC for two businesses that have been trying to move to a street-facing location to take their business to the next level. And I spoke on their behalf at the June EACC hearing, and both of them thankfully were approved for this. So I very excitedly cut the ribbon on one of them just a few weeks ago on July 21st. That's Assemble, which is on the corner over here. And I very much look forward to cutting the ribbon on the other one, which is Many Graces. So this order is for the expenditure out of our economic development account for these two MVSP grants.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And you're requesting a suspension of the rules for this.
We're requesting a suspension of the rules for this. We are.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Any questions, councilors? Councilor Maori.
I'm just curious about the 3 years. If for any reason the businesses aren't able to stay up and running, what's the process then?
Sure. Alan, do you have more information on that? Oh, he can't unmute.
Okay.
Still muted. Yeah.
Hi, so just to be sure, the question is if the business were to fail over the 3 years, I don't think there is much of a reclaiming process here. I mean, really, my guess is that they will spend, or that this money will change hands in the first year. And because this is a seed money program, hopefully, which is why we're asking for the 2 readings today, because both of these organizations could use this infusion of cash sooner than later. And they've made that clear to us. So as an economic development, get up and go, get into the empty storefront, we're hoping to move quickly. And so I think the truth of it is, if they fail in 3 years, there's not much we would do to recoup this money, nor would the state chase them for it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just curious. Thank you.
Councilors, any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion? Councilor Gore.
I just I wanted to say that this sounds really exciting to fill some empty storefronts and give some new businesses some life. And I was wondering if you have any other businesses down the pipeline that are coming through on this, or anything like that on the way.
When does the next sort of round start, Alan? Do you know? Oh,
He's
hold on.
muted.
There, thanks. So it's 2 per calendar year. So these are the 2 this year. So the next round, and there were, and I don't know, Mayor, I think and Annie's here too, but I'm pretty sure there were 5 applicants this year. And the hope would be 4, sorry, Annie's correcting me. And you need to have moved into your space or planned or signed a lease within the previous calendar year. So it's possible some of those folks might still be eligible to apply, of these 4 that applied. And then we know that a bunch of new folks have moved in recently or are getting ready to move in. So we'll see who applies in January. But that's how we'll do it.
And Alan, do you know, is the schedule that we followed this year, which was at the hearing or the meeting that I attended to kind of pitch these, was in June. So is it you apply in January and then?
So we actually missed, because of some very good reasons, I can't remember the March meeting.
Okay.
And we moved to the June.
Okay. So there are 4 actual meetings a year.
Quarterly, yes. So my guess is if we opened it in January, right out of the gate, just to add something else to the busy budget season, we could present at that March meeting.
Okay. Councilor Moore.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Moulton, seconded by Councilor Perry to suspend the rules so we could approve this tonight. Any discussion on suspension? Hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Councilor Nash,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Elkins,
Yes.
Councilor Foster,
Yes.
Councilor Gore,
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett,
Yes.
Councilor Labarge,
Yes.
Councilor Maori,
Yes.
and Councilor Moulton.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, the rule has been suspended and we have a motion made by Councilor Labarge and seconded by Councilor Gore to approve this tonight. Any discussion on approval? Hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Councilor Perry, Oh,
You froze.
Councilor Perry?
Looks very still.
Okay, we'll come back to him.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, great. Councilor Elkins,
Yes.
Councilor Foster,
Yes.
Councilor Gore,
Yes.
Councilor Jarrett,
Yes.
Councilor Labarge,
Yes.
Councilor Maori,
Yes.
Councilor Moulton,
Yes.
and Councilor Nash.
And we got Councilor Perry, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So item 23.365, in order to appropriate $20,000 from RRA 2328 to businesses participating in vacant storefront program has been approved. Okay, next I would like to go to D, which is 23.369. And I know we have something with around the 33 King Street hanging out there. We're going to get to that in a minute. Item 23.369, in order to appropriate $30,000 from stabilization for part-time staff support for commission to investigate racialized harms. And where did it go? And there it is. Okay, whereas on February 16th, 2023, the Northampton City Council adopted resolution R 23.239, acknowledging the city of Northampton's history of slavery and complicity in the harmful effects of post-slavery racial segregation, discrimination, and systemic racism. And whereas the resolution committed the creation of a joint mayoral city council commission to investigate racialized harms perpetrated against Black residents and workers in Northampton, to consider what initiative should be funded and what initiatives should be funded and implemented by the city to support redress and fair treatment for Black people who live, work, and learn in this community, and to examine ways to restore, grow, and nourish Black community and culture in Northampton for generations. Now therefore it be ordered that the sum of $30,000 be appropriated from the stabilization fund and added to the mayor's FY 2024 salary line item PS technical professional for part-time staff support for part-time staff support for the Northampton Commission to investigate racialized harms. Mayor, you want to say anything or?
Sure. So at the last meeting, we had the July meeting, when we announced the members of the commission, I said that I would be bringing a financial order to the next meeting to fund consulting and or staff support for the commission. And here it is. This is that financial order.
Councilor Jarrett.
Thank you. I'm excited to see this moving along. So do we know when the commission will begin meeting, and is this order required to pass before they begin so that they can have staff support? I guess my question is there a need to pass this sooner than September 7th?
Well, I'll let one of the maybe counselors speak to it, but this is just, I feel like, I don't totally remember, but I think NPRC, Northampton Policing Review Commission, may have started meeting before that was funded, but maybe not. It's not necessary. They could meet and have sort of initial introductions and kind of the business parts of meetings, but I wanted to fulfill my commitment and get this moving.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
Well, and I'd also like to say that the two counselors who were appointed to the commission have been making efforts to try to get 11 people to meet in the summer. and I think they've run into some roadblocks, and that so I'm maybe Councilor Perry has something to report on a new date or something. Oh, Councilor Elkins, she's got her hand up.
Sorry. See, I do have fingers. Yeah, I can't respond to that. It is true, Council President Nash, that we when we put it together, our aspirational timeline, we did it with the hope that we could get things started by the end of May, because of the fear that just what has happened would come to pass, which is that it has proven to be very difficult to get that first meeting off the ground. But we anticipate getting that first meeting scheduled and on the open meeting calendar within the next week and a half is what I would say.
Excellent. Mayor.
And we're not waiting for this funding, sorry.
If I could just revise my answer to Councilor Jarrett as I'm thinking it through. If you all wanted to pass this in 2 readings tonight, I mean, we could get, we would need to post the position. Now I'm rethinking it again. It might be good for the commission needs to get together and sort of decide what they want to do. And then that will inform whether it's posted for, kind of a part-time staff person, or if they're posting for research or both or whatever. So forget it. I was going to say you could do it in 2 readings and then we could get that process going, but it also, I think it actually would make sense for them to come together as a commission and talk about how they want to proceed. So it would be fine to wait as well.
Well, a question, I guess, Mayor, since you mentioned it, or maybe it's Charlie Nardi, though, we don't need to wait though to have that exact job description though. I mean, because it does strike me, I know we try to put things on if we are asking for a single reading to give a heads up, but really ideally, we would have been sitting here with a job description in mind because we've already met, and I am a little concerned that we're behind the 8 ball. So I, for one, I know it's not being requested, but there could, if somebody wanted to suspend the rules, and move that along, it would be welcome, I'm sure.
But you certainly all could work on job description and stuff. And until a position's funded, we can't post for that position, but you could do the background work on it.
Right.
Counselor Jarrett.
I personally have no concern with approving this tonight. It's something we knew was coming. So I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Jarrett, seconded by Counselor Labarge to suspend the rules so we could consider approving this tonight. Any discussion on suspension? Counselor Foster.
Yeah, just to say, I support doing this. I understand that we don't necessarily need to. I also know that this is a commission that, has the desire of the community behind it. I think a tremendous amount of work in front of them. And if, knowing that this support is in place may help the commission to launch their work, then I fully support passing this quickly tonight.
Okay. Any other discussion of suspension? Hearing none. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
and Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Okay, we have suspended the rules. We can consider this tonight.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Maori and seconded by Counselor Perry. Did I get that right, Counselor Perry? The green box is not showing up around you. That's what I use.
Maybe it's a shirt.
Yeah, maybe it is the shirt. Okay. And so any discussion further discussion of approval here? Hearing, well, I just want to say this is great. Yeah, I think this is a good idea to get this done tonight. This is a way to get some momentum going, and we'll get this commission up and started. So Laura, roll call.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
Counselor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Okay. Item 23.369, in order to appropriate $30,000 from stabilization for part-time staff support for commission to investigate racialized harms has been approved. Okay, now we are going to go back to 33 King Street. And is Carolyn here? There she is. All right. And okay. So let me pull this up. This laptop's running really slow. Okay, so what we have is a request for a proposal and it's a lot of pages long. And so I think it's best if we ask Carolyn and the mayor to explain this.
Sure, I'll just lead off and then I'll hand it to Carolyn. So this has been a long time coming to get us to this RFP for 33 King Street. So this is the former probate and family court. There were many delays on the state side, but it has officially been conveyed to the city and we can put together a request for proposals for this exciting downtown property. According to the September, I don't, those take your mind back to September 22nd, 2021, when the council approved this. So that's what we have brought you tonight, is this RFP to take a look at, so we can finally move this forward. Carolyn.
Thank you, and good evening, councilors. Yeah, so as the mayor said, we've been working on this for a while, but we really couldn't move until the property transferred from the Commonwealth, which happened right before the end of the fiscal year this year. In the meantime, we've done some initial analysis so we could sort of prep the stage for interested parties who would look to purchase this property. And in fact, so we had a conversation about this a year ago. We had held a public forum, which I'm certain many of you participated in. But back in May, we had a public forum to understand and sort of pitch ideas and talk about the concepts of what we'd want to see in any kind of RFP. So the draft RFP in front of you this evening is long, but a lot of it relates to the requirements that we need to include in any sale of property. And I would like to sort of reiterate that this is also serves as an announcement that the city of Northampton intends to sell 33 King Street through an RFP process. It's a 1.46 acre parcel on King Street. It currently has the office building that formerly held the Register of Deeds and other offices for the Commonwealth. And we are going to solicit sealed bids for the purchase of the property. And so that's what this is. What's in front of you today is sort of the draft of that RFP document that identifies sort of the parameters around which the city would consider sealed bid offers for this. And we would like to have this out on the streets as soon as possible in September, by early September, as soon as we fine tune this. The order that council approved way back in September 2021 was based on the fact that council would have a chance to approve the language in the RFP. So what's in front of you is not only the technical language or the legal language that is required as part of meeting Chapter 30B standards for sale of real property by a municipality. It also includes the sort of the heart of the RFP is around how prospective bidders would be scored and what are the important parameters that the city feels should be included in any proposal that then would result in the redevelopment of this parcel. The draft indicates that the minimum bid would be $2.5 million. That's based on a conversation with our assessor's office and the lead assessor, who has indicated or has assessed this property as at $2.9 million. There would be a deduction because we know that there's some contamination on the site that that is publicly available for anyone to view through the documentation we have on that. So we've put the minimum bid as a reduction from the assessed value to reflect those issues that need to be addressed in any redevelopment of the site. It also sets out a requirement that the permanent easement for public access from the bike path, which is there now, would continue with any redevelopment, so that any proponent would have to show a public access to get to the bike path in that ramp that has been built. That's important because once the city, now that the city owns the property, the easement essentially evaporates because it was an easement was given to us. So it sort of merges the interest. So that's why we have to reestablish that as a component in the request for proposal. It also sets a standard for energy source being electric, ground source, or any other kind of electric heating and cooling system for any building that's proposed on the site. And then it identifies additional beneficial features that would be considered favorably, and these specifically relate to then the scoring criteria and the scoring factors that are also embedded within the RFP. So we heard that there would be some, that there'd be benefits to having mixed income housing, meaning a mix of affordable as well as market rate. So that is reflected in the scoring. Additional beneficial features would be 20 or more parking spaces that would be available for the public. Right now, there are about 10 spaces that are publicly available on the property, in addition to the approximately 88 spaces in the back that were for the court personnel, but then were available in the evenings previously. Finally, there's a weight given to multi-story buildings over 3 floors. The minimum build out in this parcel is it's a central business core district property. And so the minimum standards for building is 30 feet or about 3 floors. And then the rest of the RFP really identifies the scoring criteria for these components, and also identifies, what the city would be looking for in terms of creating a new building and new use for this property that would add to and enhance the vibrancy of downtown. And so I'll leave it at that and just see if there are any questions related to the RFP.
So I'd like to add something here, because Laura and I and Councilor Maori have been having some discussion around this, and as well as the mayor. There's that this is technically falls under the purview of the finance committee, that since it being an RFP, that we're pretty much compelled to send it to finance, and that and so I know that the mayor and Carolyn are expecting that kind of referral to occur, and I think Councilor Maori is of the mind that that's probably going to come to finance. I just want to put that out there, that that those expectations on how this might go tonight have been in the works and being discussed. And I want to thank everybody for making sure that we're tending to our rules and doing our due diligence. Mayor, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, so yes, Carol and I certainly expect that maybe this will go to finance. I just want to note that, it's RFPs don't usually go to the council. This is an unusual thing that's happening. So it's, if you wanted to just have it in full council, that I'm not sure there's ever been one to send to finance in this way before, but we fully expect that if you'd like to do that, we'd be happy to have a conversation there as well.
Councilor Jarrett.
Thank you. This is very exciting to see come 2 years later almost. So just on the timeline, so the finance committee would be September 6th, and then you would be hoping that we would approve this on September 7th. Is that what we're looking at currently?
That would certainly, if you refer it, yes, we'd want it turned around as quickly as possible. Again, sort of this is a little atypical for council to review, but we'd want to get it out there this fall. And that would allow us to do that, because there's a long turnaround time for when respondents would be submitting their proposals.
Great, thanks. I do want to just because of that timeline and how that would be such a quick turnaround, I do want to ask some questions now, so we have time to think about those in the next few weeks. I wondered, and Carolyn, I know we wrote a little about this. If you could talk about the minimum bid. I mean, obviously the city would appreciate revenue from the sale, and from my understanding, we will receive half of whatever the bid amount is, and the state will receive the other half. And then also wanted to clarify for folks who haven't been following this since September of 21, that if the city were to decide to not sell it and take it and use it as a city property, we would have to pay the state the full appraised value. And so that's a big incentive for us to instead sell it. But I was curious, if you could speak to why the bid price we're setting, because one thought I've had is, if we allow the lower price in exchange for more public benefit, that could be beneficial, and we would kind of never know the possibilities that might come in terms of additional public benefit because of the minimum bid of $2.5 million. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are and what additional public benefit you might be thinking about. This is a 1.5 acre parcel in the middle of downtown. Property values are definitely high. I'm not a commercial appraiser. I'm not going to pretend to be one on Zoom. But just sort of looking around anecdotally at the other, properties that have sold in Northampton, and then looking back, in 2017, for example, the lumber yard, which is 100% affordable housing, except for the ground floor commercial, it, sold for $1 million, and that was back in 2017, and a slightly smaller parcel, I believe, and certainly not in the same sort of prime location as this property. But again, we were looking at, so we also need to pitch, we're legally required to provide a rationale for why a property is being sold for less than assessed value, or some other mechanism. So like I mentioned, the assessed value is 2.9. It's dropped a bit since I believe it's dropped since it was occupied. I don't know what triggered that drop, but at any point, the latest evaluation is 2.9 million, and the minimum bid we posted for 2.5 as essentially a discount, and something we'd have to provide a rationale for to the state if in fact we get that minimum bid, and it sells for that minimum bid.
Right. I guess maybe we could start with a question around the mixed income housing. So I noticed the scoring criteria. So the more, if I'm reading it right, the more market rate there is in housing and commercial space, it is considered more advantageous. Is that, am I reading that correctly? In that first, so in terms of, if we look at the points here, you get 5 points if you have a 60-40 split of with market rate housing or other commercial uses getting 60 and affordable housing getting 40. So that's the most number of points. And then if you do a 50-50 split, market rate, affordable, you get 3 points, and then 40% or less market rate housing or commercial. So kind of the less affordable housing there is, the more points you get. But say if you had what would happen if you had a 70-30 split of market rate housing or commercial uses versus affordable housing? That wouldn't get any points at all?
Right. So that's basically set up. The scoring criteria is for additional points if you meet these criteria. And the idea is that we have within a half-mile ring already, there are 688 affordable housing units. So these are deed restricted, subsidized affordable housing units. Within a quarter of a mile of the site, there are 290 units of affordable housing. And that's not counting the 30 that will be coming online with behind City Hall. So that'll bring it up over 300 units. And so the idea is that we want to say that affordable housing is certainly beneficial to the city, absolutely. But we also know that there's a need for new housing of any type, so market rate. And it's not necessarily saying high end, it's just saying market rate units. The other thing that to note about the language there is it's about market rate housing or commercial development. And that's to distinguish and sort of identify the fact that perhaps there could be two buildings in this location, right? The front building would have market rate commercial that would be potentially, that could be separated from an affordable housing project that might be completely affordable housing in the back, for example. That might be a way to gain some of those points. And the reason for thinking about sort of breaking those pieces apart is because we know from experience that the affordable housing developers that are building in this space, the Valley CDC and Wayfinders, have had an incredibly difficult time focusing on mixed uses and also getting spaces occupied on the first floor of their buildings on Pleasant Street. And it's a much more complicated project than just a straight housing project. So, you know, in that scenario, a Valley or a Wayfinders or community builders could, you know, carve off a piece of the, you know, partner with somebody, carve off a piece of the project and build just single use residential in the back, and then a different building in the front, and still as a partnership could come up with those additional points.
Right, right. I guess the part that's confusing to me is that 60-40 threshold. You know, what if it made economic sense for 30% of it to be affordable housing and 70% to be market rate housing or other commercial uses? They wouldn't receive any points for such a split.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it is arbitrary, and so, you know, and there are only so many ways you can, or so many, I guess, ways to divide a category for creating points. So there really wasn't any magic about whether it was 70-30, 60-40. I can't tell you that.
Well, can I just ask like a clarifying question, Councilor Jarrett? So if a project that we felt met all the criteria and thought had great benefit for the city had, say, a 70-30, we would value that project, right? And even though it doesn't sort of fit with how within this point structure.
Great. Yeah, you have discretion. In other words, this is a guideline, but you're able to really look at the whole picture when you're considering bids.
Right.
So back to the housing question. So this identifies a split between market rate and affordable. But I know a lot of us have talked about the need for attainable housing, though, you know, housing that doesn't meet the legal definition of affordable, which is 80% of the area median income or less, but is not necessarily at the full market rate of the, you know, which varies, of course, where market rate's going to fall depending on the size of the unit and such. And I imagine, you know, if we're getting smaller size units then perhaps those will be, some of those will fall in the attainable. But have you thought, Carolyn, director, more about ways we can encourage that attainable housing, and is there any place for that in the criteria?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. Again, I think it would have to be at potentially giving points to unit size. So if residential is proposed, then, units, X percentage of units don't exceed 800 square feet or something like that. And so that is something that could, that we did not put in, but certainly could be considered. For sure. We can't, it's not the same as, as defining affordable housing, because that's well defined in statute and local ordinance, and enforceable.
Yeah, great, thank you. I'll let other counselors go, but thanks for answering those questions.
Okay. Counselors, any other counselors have questions about this? Counselor Moulton.
I want to come back to the housing, but before that, I want to ask the sort of the introduction, the additional beneficial features. The second one is 20 or more parking spaces available to the public at specified hours for 3 or more days of the week. And I'm wondering at how you arrived at 3 days as the threshold.
So there's, it's just sort of looking at weekend day, if you take Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you have, and that might be more beneficial to people coming, in for evening to sort of explore downtown, entertainment, restaurant, and that kind of thing. So again, there's no magic to that number, but it's establishing that, a portion of the week, half, maybe a little less than half the week, is available to the public.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just wondering if that kind of sets the bar too low. I mean, are we? When we prefer that the parking spaces be available 5 days a week or all week?
Well, it really depends on what the market is for this property. And yes, this is this would be an added sort of bonus. But at the same time, let's say it's a hotel use or residential use, and with office, let's just say residential office, where some of the peak parking times are complementary of each other. It may be harder to provide parking to the public if you're just building enough parking to meet the commercial needs and the residential needs. And so, and we have 10 parking spaces available now that are sort of marked in the front for public use. And so this sort of doubles that for at least a portion of the week. So I think the idea is sort of walking a tightrope between providing a benefit or creating a way to value a project or value a proposal, but not overly restrict creativity or alternatives for people to consider.
Okay, I do want to come back to the housing. I shared Councilor Jarrett's sentiments about that middle area of housing, the so-called workforce or attainable housing, and I I know that we are calling for mixed income housing. That's very important. But setting up these, as you said, somewhat arbitrary kind of three scoring rubrics, to me it seems limiting. And I would I would hope that in that criteria we can somehow specify that we would like to see, in additional to what you can define as affordable housing, we'd like, and you say that it may be by size of the units, but we would like to see some workforce housing and that would count in the scoring. I think that's very important.
Can I just jump in? I mean, so that I certainly agree with you, Councilor Moulton. That's workforce or smaller size units is something that we have been actively saying that we're trying to get more of and more of downtown. So I think that is something that would be very attractive for a project for us.
So the challenge here then is, how do we define and encourage that and give points for it in the scoring?
The question hangs in the room.
I mean, I think it's something we could certainly look at.
Carolyn, are there such benchmarks, like around workforce? I mean, typically we're looking at things like square footage and things like that, and affordability, the parameters around affordability. But is there anything in particular that can be done to say this is workforce housing?
So workforce housing is defined differently in different places. But typically what we're talking about is housing that is accessible to people who are meeting 100 or 110% of area median income up to, and it depends in the community, up to 175% of area median income. In the communities in the Cape and Islands, it's 200, 300% of AMI is the top end of workforce housing. So it really is dependent on the community. And so the other piece is, I think it would be more appropriate to define sort of not by income and who's eligible, because then there's this whole, there's not the structure in place to oversee the implementation of who is buying, who is eligible by, how long is this standard in place. And it's better to create sort of a structural or a size cap instead of financial cap, because we don't have, it's completely, I'd say it's not enforceable to have an income threshold for that sort of workforce housing category.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So counselors, any further questions? Counselor Jarrett.
Thanks. Yeah. I wanted to come back to your question, Director, about additional public benefit. So I was thinking about space or amenities that are open to the public. I mean, obviously we have parking, but other than parking, like plaza areas, for example. Looking at the issue of affordable commercial space or incubator space. And I know that kind of similar to what you're talking about with attainable housing, that we don't have the structures. We don't really have the structures for that either. And so I can see why that would be a difficult thing to impose, to say, you're going to have this percentage of commercial space below market, but then who gets to who decides what businesses are eligible? We really need a entity like a community land trust or a community investment cooperative, which is other cities are looking at. We need some kind of entity like that in order to actually facilitate those kinds of public benefits, and so I'm really interested in making something like that happen. Although it doesn't seem like it's not something that could happen in this structure, based on what I know. But I did want to share an article I read in the website nextcity.org. It's called Strategies to Promote Affordable Commercial Space in Cities, as a future reading and thinking. Thank you.
Well, as you heard earlier this evening, the mayor's office is, working very hard on looking at strategies for supporting small business and business expansion through this, financial tax credit, looking at the vacant storefronts, and that program, is consistent with, I think, what your interest is in terms of trying to encourage and foster businesses that might not have the same financial resources as, multinational corporations or other businesses that are coming in. So I think the mayor's office is doing a really good job of working at that level, at the local level, for supporting businesses. And I think we talked previously about, sort of corresponded about the fact that we don't know what this property will hold, and we want to ensure that there's a lot of flexibility because it is such a great opportunity for downtown and the potential redevelopment for downtown. On the question about the plaza space, there are zoning requirements that specify and stipulate sort of what would be or could be allowed and what the parameters around that are. So there's built-in in our form-based code talks about the way that use can, that buildings should be built out in that location and what the build to lines are. And if you're not proposing to build all the way to the front sidewalk, then there are ways that you can step back a little bit, and it has to be an open sort of plaza area. Of course, right across the street is the courthouse lawn, which serves as a big, very public space for people to convene, and that is staying there. So, there is a balance between encouraging that kind of public space, but making sure it's not everywhere, because then they become underutilized and then can fall into disrepair and essentially drain on the community as opposed to a positive.
Councilor Labarge.
Yeah, Carolyn, how high could a building be placed there? What would be, how many feet? 3 stories?
So the zoning allows 70 feet, so about the height of the Hotel Northampton.
Yeah, I was just gonna question that. So another hotel could go in there also, right?
Yep.
Now with Goggins Real Estate, there's gonna be apartments there also. How many floors is that gonna be?
I believe that's a 5-story, 5 floors, and the ground floor is commercial as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Jarrett.
Well, I certainly support referring this to finance. I don't know, is there any, so this seems to have 2 elements. Obviously, there's the financial element of that we will be receiving, the city will be receiving money for this. But then there's also the community impact. And so I wonder if there's interest from community resources about possibly doing a joint meeting on September 6th. I would definitely be interested in attending. I mean, I can attend regardless, but if there's interest from the chairs of those meetings to do a joint meeting, I would be interested in that.
Councillor Perry.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why we couldn't do that, and I do think that it does have an impact on our community, so it would fall under our umbrella, and that is for September 6th. Councillor
At
Elkins.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can concur that that would be a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yep.
So that would be 6 PM, September 6th, via Zoom.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to refer this to the Finance Committee and the Community Resources Committee for September 6th.
Okay.
Second.
Right, motion made by Councillor Jarrett, seconded by Councillor Moulton to send this item to a joint meeting of Community Resources and Finance on September 6th at 6 o'clock. Any further discussion on this referral? Hearing none. Laura, roll call.
Councillor Gore,
Yes.
Councillor Jarrett,
Yes.
Councillor Labarge,
Yes.
Councillor Maori,
Yes.
Councillor Moulton,
Yes.
Councillor Nash,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
Councillor Elkins,
Yes.
and Councillor Foster.
Yes.
Okay, that item, what doesn't have an item number? Oh, here it is. 20, what?
No.
It doesn't have an item number. Okay, that it's been referred to finance and community resources. And just to show who is, somebody is not gonna, which counselors are not on those two committees? Foster and Gore. Okay. All right, and my hope is that if they show up, that the chairs will accommodate them, you know, afford them the ability to join the meeting and to join the discussions. So
Just by
Caroline.
Zooming or live?
I don't know the answer to that at this moment. That would be up to the chairs to figure out. And Carolyn, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, you were asking about a number. So this does not need an order because you've already made or adopted the order for selling the property. And which is probably why there's no number. I'll leave that process to you, but I just wanted to clarify that this is not an order.
Got it. I'm just used to reading an item number, Carolyn. All right, Councillor Jarrett.
I do see a number, 23.364.
Where am I missing this?
I didn't think I assigned it a number because normally just the orders, ordinances, and resolutions are the only thing I do assign numbers.
Oh, yeah,
to.
there is. Oh, on the
Did I really assign a number? I didn't think I did.
the RFP has a number, except it's not showing up on the RFP. It only shows up on the agenda. Okay. It's a technical
Oh,
thing.
I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. There it is.
Something for Laura and I to figure
well,
out.
gee.
Okay, so that item has been addressed. We have one more item left. And that is the item 23-363 warrant for November 7th, 2023 biennial municipal election. This is in first reading, and Pam Powers is here. Pam, this doesn't need two readings tonight, correct? No, okay. And I'm feeling a little compelled to read some of this because that's been the tradition while I've been on council to read this. Let me pull it up. Where did it go? There it is. it gets redundant. In City Council, August 17th, 2023, upon the recommendation of the city clerk, Pamela L. Powers, warrant regarding the municipal election scheduled for November 7th, 2023. A meeting of the inhabitants of the city of Northampton qualified to vote will be held on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, in the several polling places designated for the purpose by the City Council as follows. Ward 1, Precinct A, in Jackson Street School Auditorium. Ward 1, Precinct B, in Jackson Street School Auditorium. Ward 2, Precinct A, in Smith Vocational Agricultural High School Gymnasium. Ward 2, Precinct B, in Smith Vocational Agricultural High School Gymnasium. Ward 3, Precinct A, in the Senior Center Great Room at 67 Conn Street. Ward 3, Precinct B, in the Senior Center Great Room at 67 Conn Street. And Ward 4, Precinct A and B are also in the Great Room at 67 Conn Street. Ward 5, Precinct A, in Florence Civic and Business Building on 90 Park Street. Ward 5, Precinct B, in Smith Vocational Agricultural High School Gymnasium. Ward 6, Precinct A, in Robert K. Finn Ryan Road School. Ward 6, Precinct B, also in Ryan Road School. Ward 7, Precinct A, in JFK Middle School Community Room. Ward 7, Precinct B, in Leeds School Gymnasium, lower level. The polls will open at 7 o'clock in the forenoon and close by 8 o'clock in the evening of the said day, and all such voters will, within the said hours in the wards in which they are individually entitled to vote, give in their votes for 2 counselors at large for the 2 ensuing municipal years, for 1 counselor from each of the 7 wards of the city for the 2 ensuing municipal years, for 2 members of the school committee at large for 2 years from the first Monday of January 2024, for 1 school committee member from each of the 7 wards of the city for 2 years from the, am I reading the same thing again? All right, this is getting redundant. But we understand there's going to be election for these officers. And now I'm going to skip down to I just want to generalize. We have early voting, and it will start on Saturday, November 21st, and it will run through Friday, November 3rd. There's various times, but basically if you show up at 9 o'clock at City Hall on any of these dates, you'll be able to vote. And that and the specifics of this will be posted on the city website. Isn't that right, Pam? Where is she? Do we have to unmute her? We got to unmute Pam.
There we go.
Hi, Pammy.
Hello. So I just have a couple of comments. Just so that you know, there is no proposed early voting on Sunday, so those are not included in that little chart that I gave you. And in the section that described all of the positions that will be on the ballot, I just want to point out that there is a distinction between the 2 Community Preservation Committee members, and it will be for 1 member of the Community Preservation Committee at large for 4 years from the first Monday of January 2024, and 1 member of the Community Preservation Committee at large to begin serving upon certification of the November 7th election results, and to continue serving for 4 years beginning the first Monday of January 2024. So you'll remember that I think it was the city council that voted in a replacement for Dan Krasner when he resigned the position, community preservation. And the charter reads that that person who is slated to replace a person appointed will begin immediately after the certification of the election results. So that's just one clarification that I wanted to point out. Also, I think I had sent an email along to just explain that it's the city council's responsibility now to approve having early voting in person. You may elect not to, but that's not my recommendation. This came about as a result of the June 2022 Governor Charlie Baker signing into legislation, the act fostering voter opportunities, trust, equity, and security. And certain portions of all elections have been modified as a result of that. And there's some specific language for municipal elections to sort of pare back, if you will, the amount of activity related to in-person early voting or to opt out of early voting by mail. I didn't bring that recommendation forward. I didn't think that the city council wanted to entertain that. But the request for in-person early voting has to be made only after at least, or no less than, I should say, 50% of the board of registrars asking for the in-person early voting. And we did that. Earlier this year, the board of registrars voted unanimously to ask you to allow for in-person early voting. And so that's the reason why that particular aspect is on this particular warrant.
Thank you, Pam. Councillor Jarrett.
Just had a question about the Community Preservation Committee. So I noticed one of the people running is an incumbent already serving. So it would be the other person would be the one who would start. How will it be determined? Yeah, who would start on November 7th versus in January?
Right, so the incumbent will continue. Will continue to the term that would normally end in January. So it's the second person on the ballot who hasn't sat in that position before.
Got it. Thank you.
Right.
Well, you guys were so lively for the last discussion. What happened?
So this is in first reading, and if there's no more discussion, it will appear on the ballot next time, or on the agenda. Our next meeting for approval. Do I have that correct? Yes.
The caffeine wore off.
Yeah.
City clerk, that's what happens around 9-ish. Sorry.
Oh my God.
So any more discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. And thank you, Pam. And also, thank you for explaining. I got lost in the gobbledygook there. I just like.
Oh my God.
It is a lot.
It is a lot. So, but thank you for, I should have just let you tell us the high points like you did. So, okay. Counselors, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there I'll consider a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Perry, seconded by
Did we haven't voted on the warrant yet?
no,
Do
this
we have
is,
to
my
vote
understanding is
on
that this is first reading and that we approve it next time.
We have time.
Yeah.
So next, on the 6th, we'll approve the warrant.
So it goes on the consent agenda?
No, it'll appear under orders for second reading.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay. Counselor Perry made the motion. Who seconded?
I heard Councilor Labarge.
Okay.
It was Counselor Labarge. It was Counselor Labarge. All right, and no discussion about adjourning. Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Jarrett,
Yes.
Counselor Labarge,
Yes.
Counselor Maori,
Yes.
Counselor Moulton,
Yes.
Counselor Nash,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
Counselor Elkins,
Yes.
Counselor Foster,
Yes.
and Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We still have 2 more weeks of summer. Enjoy all of it. We're gonna get busy in September.
Night out.
Okay, thank you.
Night,
Good-
everyone.
Good night. Good
Good night,
night.
President. Thank you.
All right, Laura, you